But I'm Henrietta Wamala, and I'm the president of the Ugandan North American Association, as I said before. And I want to thank the African Future Summit organization for the invitation, and I'm honored to be amongst this distinguished group of panelists. Thank you so much. Now, as a community leader in an African immigrant organization, I'm really honored that I can be able to come and talk about my people from Uganda, our Ugandan North American Association organization, and also share my thoughts as a woman in leadership, and also one that would call herself an influencer in the community. I'm really glad that we are added to this panel. I'm glad that I've added to this panel because I believe that as a community leader, we are the grassroots leaders that actually engage and bring the people that are your market segments that are addressed by the corporate people that you bring to forums such as these. So kudos to the African Future Summit to have thought about us as community leaders to be part of this. Now, the Ugandan North American Association covers USA, Canada, and Mexico, and we are the largest diaspora organization from Uganda in the world. We are an immigrant non-profit organization, and we bring together Ugandans living in North America and together and give them a platform to network, to share experiences and opportunities here in North America, and also those back home. The organization runs various programs throughout the year, but we also have a convention, which is an annual convention, and we welcome all people, regardless of color, regardless of country of origin or gender. So it's a pleasure that we are given an opportunity to talk about ourselves here today. Getting back to the topic of the day, which is women in positions of power and influencers. The norm, actually, when you talk about women of power, the norm is more descriptive than substantive, in that we represent almost half of the population across the globe. But you'll find that we are likely to hold positions of power across the globe, regardless of what our representation is. We often have to overcome so many barriers and constraints in life and have to work twice as hard than our male counterparts to access those positions of power. Sometimes, even when we are put in these positions of power, I feel that we have little decision-making power given to us. We are sometimes excluded from important government decisions and legislations, policies or budget allocations that would affect our communities. So I think we still have a long way to make sure that we push and try to at least get to a place where we can feel we are comfortable. Now, I should also say that we have moved strides in some of these positions. For example, we just had a woman vice president elected, and I know someone would tell me, but you have a woman vice president that was elected in the USA. Yes, we have that, and we have to give ourselves kudos for that, because those are the strides that we can celebrate that we are making as women in the continent, but we also have a long way to go. This is a subject that I think we can talk about all day, but I also have to just scale it down so that I give my fellow panelists some time to share. So I think what I'll talk about is what has affected us this year, and that is COVID. This year we have been affected by a crisis. We live in uncertainty times, but we also feel that these times of uncertainties are going to actually pave the way how companies are going to have choices made that will actually have lasting and repercussions on these companies for decades to come. For instance, women have been negatively impacted by COVID. And you'll find that we are more or less the ones that will either be followed, that will either be laid off, because we have to deal with the things that we have to deal with at home. You have to be the mother, you have to be the teacher at home now that children are going at school from home. You have to run a household, but you also have to work twice as hard to put food on the table. So I would say that we have actually been impacted by the COVID crisis twice as much compared to our male counterparts. The pandemic has intensified challenges that we already face even before it happened. But right now, with even the little that we used to have. For example, the working mothers used to have some resources, for example, such as childcare, which are given by community, which are given by the government. All these resources have been taken away from them. So you have women that are really struggling out there, that are trying to put food on the table, that are trying to hold it together, but they find it so hard to survive. And we need to make sure that we can come together and see that these people are given resources, are given the support so that they can actually be able to survive. Because remember, when you uplift a woman, you're uplifting a community, because our strength trickles down to our communities. And when it comes to women of color, I think they have even been impacted so much because of the disproportionate impact of COVID in the Black communities. So we really have a lot that we have to work on. I really hope that given that, for example, here in the US, we have a new government that has come into, that is going to be coming in January, that they can actually be able to look at this through our eyes and find solutions that can help us. So these are some of the realities that we continue to face as barriers as we struggle to make it as women. Imagine that woman I've just described. Those are the women that are having it hard to make it in the workplace, to make it in leadership positions in the workplace, or even just in communities. And you'll find that it's hard for them to be your champions at the negotiating table. So it comes back to us, fellow women. We have to either push them, we have to even reach out to our male counterparts and make sure that they can help us propel those people that we feel can be the women of power or leaders in the communities and go and represent us on the tables to have these resources brought back to us. Let me bring it back now to us as African immigrants. One would ask me, how impactful are influencers as women in leadership? I believe that when women are in leadership positions, they have the influence and they positively impact the lives of the well-beings of either the girls, the boys, society in general. Just as Miss Brenda Nanyonjo said, we usually look at the girl child. We talk about the girl child and we forget to talk about the boy child. Remember that when these little girls grow up and become the women we are trying to embolden them to be, the women in leadership, the women of positions, the women that can make us proud, they end up marrying the boy child that we forgot and did not do the same for. We didn't propel them, we didn't teach them, we didn't get mentors for those boy children. So we need to go beyond just looking at our girl children and think about the boy children as well. As we are in leadership, as we try to propel those to the negotiating tables to bring resources to us to help our women, let us also think about helping the men as well, because our girl children that we are fighting for will end up actually marrying the men that we forgot. So as an African woman, as an African immigrant woman of color, I would say that our problems are actually similar, regardless of which countries we come from as our original countries. What we require is we need to work together. We need to reach out from the various communities where we are, like we are here today. I'm here representing the Ugandan North American Association. The African Future Summit comprises of various immigrants from the continent of Africa. So if I can be able to come and have a conversation with you, and you're from Ghana, you're from Togo, you're from Nigeria, you're from South Africa, that is a start. We need to have these conversations. We need to get together. We need to share resources so that we can grow as a stronger unit of immigrants. Remember, we live in a country which actually loves numbers. When you're trying to solve a problem in America, they look at numbers. We can only be able to get what we need as immigrants if we are a strong unit. We need to encourage, support, propel our fellow women, immigrants that are trying to vie for offices, that are trying to vie for positions of power, that are trying to vie for higher positions in the corporate world, because these are the people that are going to actually be the decision makers and will actually be able to take our problems to those that will be able to solve them. They are our champions, so we need to make sure that we stand up for them. The other thing that I also would say is that the only way that we can succeed as an African immigrant segment is again through collaboration and networking. For example, what does the Nigerian community do best that the Ugandan community can emulate and copy from them? We need to have those conversations because that's the only way that we will be able to survive. I would also like to say that when we are a strong unit, chances are we will be able to fight the injustices that we face. We should not shy away from talking about those injustices. For example, a few months ago, we had the George Floyd incident. And this is actually an incident that affected all of us as Black community members, regardless of whether you're African American, regardless of whether you're from Uganda, you're from Togo, you're from Sierra Leone, as long as you are a person of color, these are injustices that we face in America. And in order for us to fight against such injustices, we have to come together as a strong unit. So I would like to say that we have to engage our community leaderships if we need such things to be done. We can sit on the sidelines, we can communicate in our little side groups, but as long as we come together as a strong unit and voice and bring our voices together and be able to stand tall and say we are one and we are fighting for this to be stopped. For example, things such as police brutality and all that, that's the only way that we are going to be able to succeed. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, as a woman of power and an influencer in my community, I want to leave these parting remarks and say, let's be the best versions of ourselves. Let us be the ambassadors of our native countries. Let us be able to have those that look at us emulate what we are. Let them look at us and wonder with joy what they could find if they would peel the layers of us, and so that they can see what makes us unique as a person. To the Africa Future Summit, I would like to say thank you so much.